Hello, my name is Mary Jane Joudry. I live in Atascadero, California. The story I'm going to share with you today is very shocking, very heartbreaking, and it's about my son, Thomas. This is Thomas right here. My son Thomas died about 6 years ago, and that's the story I'm going to tell you. So, Tommy was born in San Luis Obispo in 1997 on New Year's Eve. And he was one of the greatest gifts from God that I ever received. And he was a wonderful young boy. And Tommy was just a very pleasant young guy, and went through school, did all the things that people do. And when he was about 21, he hurt his elbow. You can see he's in a brace here. He hurt his elbow skateboarding. Tommy was a big skateboarder. He was a big golfer. Tommy also played guitar. He loved whitewater rafting. You name it, Tommy was into it. He really loved it. But he was living in San Luis Obispo and moved back home because we needed to get this surgery done on his arm. And Tommy also had cultivated a big cactus nursery in our home. We have a big cactus garden, and he got a bunch of little plants and he would sell them to people. And he had a large following of people, they just loved him. But one day, in June of 2019, a man showed up at our house, and Tommy approached him like he would any other customer, and he said, "Do you like cactus?" And he says, "No, but I really like your photographs." And Tommy just kind of walked away from him and said, "Well, I'm kind of an aspiring artist." So then the guy started telling Tommy that he could help him with his artwork. And he was good at marketing and everything else. So beware of people that tell you that they can do so much for you. As it turns out, that this man that came to our house had a 40-year history of molesting young men, and also that you can find this in the San Luis Obispo Tribune. They actually won a state award for this, so I'm not telling you lies. He even had one charge with lewd conduct with a dependent adult, and this guy is still doing daycare for a quadriplegic. I don't know how that could possibly happen. But our goal here today, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story very quickly. And our goal today is to prevent this from happening to other people, because this guy is still at large in the community. And San Luis Obispo has had a reputation in the past 20 years that I've lived here for sexual assault, for murders of young people, and there are a lot of common denominations here. Okay, first of all, you need to be aware of who you're around. This guy actually took my son out to a bar in San Luis Obispo and kept buying him a lot of drinks. And my son didn't even know how much he was drinking. The guy would buy 2 drinks. We have the videos from the bar to back this up. And Tommy would drink his, and the guy would switch the drinks. And Tommy didn't even know he was switching the drinks. So this guy was perfectly sober watching my son get drunk. In 1 hour and 15 minutes, my son's blood alcohol level shot up to a 0.38. That's 4.5 times the legal limit to drive. And Tommy was so drunk that, he could barely stand up. And then the guy did a test, and he pulled Tommy, but Tommy always wore these caps, pulled his cap down to his crotch. And my son looked at him in the video and he goes, "No." So my son, you could see him in the video trying to get out of the Frog and Peach bar in San Luis Obispo. And anyway, Tommy goes walking out of the bar. He walks in the opposite direction of this man's car because he knew where he was parked. And he was trying to get help. And several people called 911 alerting that Tommy looked like he needed help. Tommy at one point fell down in the middle of the street in between cars, landed on his forehead and became unconscious. And he called 911, and this dispatcher in San Luis Obispo just kept saying, "Well, does he look like a homeless person? Do you think maybe he was just a homeless person? As if that makes any difference. And we have the 911 calls, by the way. So I have all the backup information I need on this. And several other people called during this time. Tommy was running from one place to another, and one of the people that called 911 even said, hey, he looks like he's trying to get away from this guy. And this guy just looks like he's trying to help him. And then Tommy, when he fell, that guy took Tommy's phone away and put it in his pocket. Then he followed Tommy, so we know from Tommy's cell phone exactly where this guy was going. Tommy walked into a parking structure and was trying to hide from him. And people called in the parking structure, called 911. Nobody ever sent an ambulance. They saw Tommy was bleeding. They could tell that he needed help, but nobody came. And then these people left. The 911 caller said the same thing to them. Well, do you think he's just homeless? And they all described him the same way, with the kid with the brace on his arm. Anyway, within a couple of minutes after that, Tommy fell out of the third floor parking structure window. We don't know exactly what happened, or, because at that point we don't have an eyewitness. But anyway, Tommy fell and people were screaming. We have the videos from the police cars as they approached the scene. And there were a lot of people there that still have never come forward to kind of tell Tommy's story. But Tommy sat there dying on the sidewalk, and this guy, David Knight, came and said, hey, I know that guy. And he came across the street against the red light, couldn't even see Tommy. He says, I know him. He knew exactly where Tommy was. Anyway, he identified Thomas to the police department, and then he refused to give his own name. And then he wanted to know what was going on. Was Tommy still breathing? Anyway, the police department, can you stop for a second?